You may think you have an idea of what a drug addict looks like, but you might be surprised at the real face of substance abuse.
I'm the face of a drug addiction. We don't always not have teeth or have dirty hair or live underneath a bridge.
To me, I think of, you know, Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, whoever. I mean, all these people that were drug addicts, not my baby. I mean, not my baby.
Last year, the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University released their findings of a far-reaching survey. They studied substance abuse among America's high school teens and called it a wake-up call to every adult in America. Among the findings, 3/4 of high school students, or 10 million, have used addictive substances, including tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, or cocaine. Almost half of high school students, or about 6 million, are current users of an addictive substance. And Americans are paying an average of $1,500 per person in taxpayer money to fund the costs of treating addiction. But there is hope that this can be prevented. KIMT News 3's Sarah Danik has more on that from Studio 3.
Well, Matt, tonight we're going to introduce you to several people, all of whom had similar starts during their teen years, but not everyone stayed on the same path. And the consequences of their decisions, as you'll see, they can be deadly.
Well, in the fall now, we just got done with volleyball, I'll do that, and then in the winter we move on to basketball.
I was a really good student. I got A's and B's. I was on the honor roll. I was in dance line, volleyball, softball.
She wanted to be like a psychologist or journalist. She wrote a lot of diaries, a lot of poems, things like that.
3 lives, 3 stories, with seemingly common starts. We'll hear more from Kay and Jane later on, but first, we begin with Sharon Schlingman.
Hate to say it, but I use this for her obituary.
Who is still dealing with the pain of her daughter Rachel's death last August, about a month before her 24th birthday. Sharon had learned of Rachel's heroin problem about 2 years before that.
There was just something I just could tell, but I didn't really know what it was until she showed me her arms.
Rachel got help at the Fountain Center of Albert Lea the first time, but the call of heroin was too strong.
She had cried to me about a week before she died. I'm sorry. And she said to me, "Mom, I can't promise you that I'll never do it again." She goes, "I don't want to do it again, but it's like the devil has my soul, and he just won't let go."
Rachel was scheduled to go back to treatment on Monday, but on Friday, August 10th, that plan changed.
They call it the last hurrah, and I've talked to a lot of people. That's what they do. They want to do it one more time, just that one more time, before they get clean, and they took her life.
About an hour from Rochester and Albert Lea, Jane Stout remembers hearing the news.
It was such a tragedy because I had just gotten out of treatment at the time that I heard about it. My boyfriend was in treatment at the time.
Jane has been clean and sober for about 9 months now, after struggling with a meth addiction since she was in college.
You know, it's kind of a funny thing how I did it just once, and the next morning I had the worst stomach ache I ever had in my life, but I knew that I wanted to do it again, and that's how powerful that drug is.
Jane started drinking alcohol when she was 14 and believes that was the beginning of her long-term problem.
Little did I know that all that early experimentation with drugs and alcohol would just open the door for me later in life to feel like it was safe to experiment with harder drugs later on.
Jane is not alone. That safe feeling can be the path to harder drugs and more bad choices. Alice England is the project coordinator for Freeborn County Partners in Prevention, an organization with the goal of reducing youth substance numbers.
We've all heard the term gateway drug, but that's where those lead, and you never know who's going to take that next step into the next drug.
Adolescents are at a particularly high risk when it comes to substance abuse. The regions of the brain critical to decision-making, judgment, and impulse control are not fully formed, and as a result can lead to more dangerous behavior. That's why Alice says parents play a critical role.
Keep the lines of communication open, and we always say talk to your kids about alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, but make it a conversation.
You're doing a good job.
It's what the Faber family is trying to do with their 4 kids in Clear Lake.
It doesn't have to be a lengthy conversation or a lecturing conversation. but hey, have you tried this, or what are you thinking, or what are you going to do if you're in a situation?
We met her daughter Kay earlier. She's a sophomore. And while Kay says there are things like drinking and drug abuse going on, it's not something she feels pressure to do.
It's always a choice. So there's always going to be people that make that choice, and as long as you just put yourself around the right people and make the right choice, then you're pretty safe from it.
And those are the kinds of choices Jane says were stolen from her by meth.
Drugs kill, and they'll steal your life, and they steal your opportunities. And that's the hard truth of the situation.
It's a stark reality that Sharon is living with each day. She says she will never stop talking about the issue and sharing her and Rachel's story.
You need to talk to your kids. You need to drug test them. I don't care. I don't care if they're the football star. I don't care if they're the cheerleader. I don't care who they are. You need to drug test them.
And both women point out drug and alcohol addictions don't discriminate.
It doesn't matter where you come from, drugs don't care.
I didn't think my daughter would ever do it. What do you do now? She's gone.
Now, parents out there may be wondering, how do I have that tough conversation with my teen? Alice recommends a few things. First, ask your child what they want to do in their future and how drugs and alcohol would affect those goals. Make it a continuing conversation. Prepare and do some research ahead of time. Show love and support, and be a parent, not a pal. Matt.
Thank you, Sarah. It's also good to note a few of the signs that your kids may be abusing drugs or alcohol. Experts say you may notice changes in friends, in schoolwork, and an increase in borrowing money.